Before we discuss how the ERG is organized, let's give some context to the use of the ERG. Let's talk about some real possibilities that exist for you when approaching an unknown hazmat scene. In Ludwig Benner's General Hazardous Materials Behavior Model, a container of material is stressed in three ways: thermally, mechanically, or chemically. When stressed, it most likely will breach and release its contents, engulfing anything in its pathway. Never underestimate the possibilities when dealing with chemical reactions. In this instance, the letter P next to the ERG's guide number would have informed you that the product may polymerize if subjected to high heat or if contaminated. According to Benner's model, risk assessment must begin at a distance. When arriving at a hazmat incident, your first responsibility is to keep yourself and the public safe. Resist rushing in. Position yourself upwind, uphill, or upstream from the hazard, and stay clear of all vapors, fumes, smoke, and spills. Understanding the content and organizational layout of the ERG is where we will begin. All the information you need on how and when to use the ERG can be found in the opening white pages. Various sections in the ERG's white pages have been expanded or revised in the newest 2012 edition to include the Criminal Terrorist Use of Chemical, Biological, Radiological Agents section. Anytime you look up a hazmat in the ERG, you will begin with either the yellow pages or blue pages. Those pages will guide you directly to the center of the book, where the orange guides are located. The orange section is ultimately where you want to end up in the ERG. It contains the information you need in order to respond. If you find the 4-digit ID number first, from the placard or from the shipping document, then you will go to the yellow pages and look up that number numerically. The orange guide number will be in the column beside it. In this case, Orange Guide 128 will give you the information that you need. If you find the name of the material first, which can be found on package markings or on the shipping paper, then you will go to the blue pages and look up that name alphabetically to find the orange guide number. And again, we see it leads us to Orange Guide 128. It's important to read the full name of the material. For example, if you were to look up arsenic, you need to know whether it is arsenic bromide, arsenic chloride, or another arsenic variation. This will keep you from going to the incorrect guide. The orange guides are the core of the Emergency Response Guidebook. In the orange guides, you will find three major areas: potential hazards, public safety, and emergency response. Each orange guide number is for a group of materials with similar chemical and toxicological characteristics. The key to using the ERG is applying the data points we will be discussing to get you to this orange section. Once you have the proper guide for the material you are confronted with, then you have corrective actions to put into effect until qualified personnel can arrive and assist you. In the crucial moments when the identification of the material is completely unknown, you could be the only responder on a scene for an extended period of time. You will need to use any and all available visual identification clues to safely approach the scene. Again, risk assessment must begin at a distance. In the very best case scenario upon arriving on an incident, you will have the shipping paper available to you with the necessary pieces of information you need to react immediately and decisively. Most often, there will be only parts of the information available, depending upon the nature of the incident. The appearance of colored smoke, a vapor cloud, or people who collapse with no apparent cause may be your very first clue to the presence of hazmat. The shape of the container can be another clue visible at long range to indicate a vehicle carrying hazmat. As a last resort, you could use the road and railcar information chart in the white pages. As you get closer, You may be able to see only the color of a placard or other markings on the vehicle. So, in cases where you can advance no further, you can still locate an orange guide for response instructions even if you only have the vehicle shape or the color of the placard. Each advance towards the scene will add critical data points that will take you from an unknown situation towards an orange guide, which leads you to safety and corrective actions instructions. In the absence of any information, placards, shipping papers, or container markings, you can always go to Guide 111, the very first guide in the orange pages. And only as a last resort, use the road and rail car information. When provided with the shipping paper from a transporter, find the product name and proceed to the blue pages in order to get to the orange guide. Remember, any knowledge the transporter may have could prove to be extremely helpful and save time. If you see a placard with no words, there will be a hazard class number at the bottom. Reference the placards page and then go to the corresponding orange guide for instructions. For a complete listing of hazard classes, see the white pages. You also may occasionally see a double orange panel. The top is used on some intermodal bulk containers and is referred to as the hazard identification code, and below that is your 4-digit identification number.